I forget how you prayed on Gethsemane in the garden. And lest I forget how you suffered your agony on Calvary. Let's God forget. Good morning, everybody. Lead me to Calvary. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is an excellent day to serve an excellent God in and with the spirit of excellence. I am Chaplain Sherry, Coach Sherry. I am your community pastor, Sherry. I'm Sherry from the 800 block of Mooney Avenue. Good morning. I'm here to tell you that my testimony is that millions didn't make it. I am one of the ones who did. I pray that your day is going well on this fourth day of Lent. It is the fourth day of Lent. It is Saturday morning. Usually we are in this space about 6:10 a.m. Monday through Friday, but I told you that Saturdays we will get in where we fit in. Good morning. I pray that your night was a good one. I pray that you were able to rest, that you were not just in a reclining position, but you were able to rest, because even though this is a day of rest, it does not mean that our work is over. It just means that God has given us an opportunity to stop, to reflect, to come to ourselves, right? To come to ourselves. And so we don't want to spend this day with a lot of hustle and bustle, right? But we want to find some time to relax and regroup. Good morning, Robin. So good to see you. Good morning, Reverend Donna. So good to see you on this fourth day of Lent. On this fourth day of Lent, if you find value, now listen to Chaplain Sherry, Coach Sherry, listen to your community pastor, Sherry. You choose the one that you want me to be today, but I promise you I'm all three. If you find value in what I'm going to say, would you like, share, tag, bring somebody else into this space that needs to hear this? Good morning, Marquita. So glad that you found me this morning. Listen, on this fourth day of Lent, guess what we are fasting from? We are fasting from limited expectations. Limited expectations is what we are fasting from today. Now remember, we are not in a fast for a project. At the end of the 40 days, we will not close the book on what we have done. This fast that we are engaging in will take us beyond the 40 days. It will take us beyond the 40 days, because we are developing healthy spiritual habits, healthy ways of being, doing, and speaking that will take us beyond the 40 days. So today we are fasting from limited expectations. In other words, we have something fixed in our mind, and that's, if it does not happen like that, we get all discombobulated. We get ready to throw up our hands because our expectations were not met. And I want to suggest this morning that maybe our expectations are too small. Maybe our expectations are limited. So, Sherry, how do you arrive at that? Well, if you remember on yesterday, John was so confident in his role. He said that he had to decrease so that the one who was coming would increase. John understood his function. John understood his role. And when Jesus showed up on the scene, John redirected the praise and the honor to Jesus. Well, today, in Matthew, the 11th chapter and the 3rd verse, it seems as though as John is in prison, that John's expectations of Jesus or John's confidence has dropped. John finds himself expecting Jesus to do these great and mighty things, and yet Jesus is not meeting those expectations, not just yet. Perhaps John was looking for Jesus to do something, and Jesus didn't do it readily. John has some uncertainty. Now, I want to help us this morning. I want to suggest to us that many of us began to have uncertainties when things do not fit into the box that we have constructed. And we began to ask, are you the one? Or should we be looking for another? Because our hope was in you. Our hope was in the fact that you were going to do what we needed you to do. Perhaps you've asked that question, are you the one? Or should we be looking for another? Should we invest our time and energy with you, or should we be looking for another? Now, perhaps that's not your testimony this morning because you say sanctified, you filled with the burning fire, that of the Holy Spirit, and you've never had any questions. You've never had any doubt. You have never had any uncertainty. If that's your testimony this morning, I don't want you to say nothing because I don't want you to mess up those of us who've had that question before. Are you the one? Are you the Messiah? Are you the one who's going to come and rescue us? Are you the one that's going to bring us out of this oppression and this under this Roman government, this heavy weight that is on us? Are you the one? Because listen, we've been waiting a long time for someone to come, and you are the one that I preach. John said that I preach was coming as the Messiah. I got out of the way so you can do your thing. But yet, you are not meeting those expectations. Jesus' actions were not matching John's expectations. And that put a distance between what John thought Jesus would do and what Jesus actually did. John's uncertainty and Jesus' actions was putting a strain on the relationships. Do you know that anger is the result of, it is a feeling that comes upon us when someone else does not meet our expectations? Y'all not talking to me? That's okay. I'm talking to myself because I understand when I have created a narrative for a relationship, for a situation, for a job, for people, places, and things, and they did not meet my expectations, they did not walk the narrative that I have created, then I get all discombobulated and I become angry. And I put my anger toward the person, but it's really the anger is really toward the unmet expectation that you didn't come through the way that I needed you to come through, or I expected you to come through. I did not leave room that there could be another way. John's uncertainty of who Jesus was, or his thoughts about who Jesus was, and Jesus not meeting that, caused a strain on the relationship. John experienced from prison what the first disciples would later experience through Jesus' time with them. Time and time again, Jesus would act in ways that went against expectations. Jesus would act in ways that went against the culture, that went against the religious leaders, that went against even his family. And they began to question, are you the one, or should we be looking for another? Can I tell you that Jesus' ways are often unexpected? Jesus' words can seem out of place. From within the prisons of pain or persecution, injustice or accusations, limitations or unmet longings, we often can wonder if Jesus is truly the one we thought he was. On this fourth day of Lent, we are fasting from limited expectations. We want to decrease in limited expectations, and we want to increase in our expectations of how Jesus will come through. Any way you bless me, Lord, I'll be satisfied. My cup is this big, Lord. My box is this big, Lord. I have no lines in the sand, Lord. Whichever way you come, I'm ready. Because my expectations of how you may come has no boundaries, has no limitations. This morning, on this fourth day of Lent, I want us to ask ourselves the question: has the distance between what you thought Jesus would do and what Jesus actually did cause you uncertainty and unrest in your souls? Ask yourself, as you give yourself grace, that it's okay. Because listen, you have some real needs that you need Jesus to come through with, that you need God to come through with, and you are looking for God to do it. But may I suggest, and may I offer you this, that you don't put God in a box, that you are open to the ways that God will come through. May your testimony be today, whichever way you bless me, I'll be satisfied. Marquita, I see your question. Could there be uncertainty in your church leaders? Could I have expectations in my leaders, and am I wrong for questioning them? We all have expectations in people. And perhaps the expectations that we have, listen, Marquita, is beyond their capacity to produce. They don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the capacity to do more than they are doing. It's not wrong to have the expectations, but when it comes to humanity, I would suggest that you analyze your expectations and then analyze their capacity to fulfill your expectations. For example, because of limited experience, education, wherewithal, abilities, credentials, understanding, biblical literacy, whatever the case may be, they just may not have the capacity to come through in ways that you will want them to come through. That is no excuse. There is no excuse, especially depending on what the situation is. When it comes to questioning, I would say ask the questions in a way that they can receive the questions and be open to answering the questions. I pray that this blesses you and this is what you want. Here is what my editor in Racine, Wisconsin told me one time, and it blessed me. My editor, Randy Brandt, I will always remember Randy. He said, Sherry, do you want them to remember the message or remember how you delivered the message? I ask you, do you want them to remember the question or how you asked the question? I haven't always got that right. But today, I understand that my delivery can sometimes overpower the message that I'm trying to convey. It doesn't take away who I am, but it allows me to be strategic. If my message that I'm carrying or the questions that I want to ask are going to be received. However, when it comes to Jesus, when it comes to God, coming through in ways that we need, God is beyond humans, and God's capacity to come through has no boundaries, has no limits. It will be up to us to open our minds and our hearts that any way God comes through, that we won't be so bound by an expectation of how God will come through. We'll just know that God will. Y'all be blessed. Remember, tomorrow, Sunday, is not counted among the 40 days. So as you go through your day to day, fasting from limited expectations, know that God is bigger and broader, wider and deeper than anything we can ever imagine. Y'all be blessed and may all be well with your day.